When you create a pivot table in Excel 2013, Excel finds the sum of all of the data. The good news is that you're not limited to that one operation. You can find averages, running totals, and a lot of other different types of summaries. In this movie, I will show you how to change both the display and the summaries that occur inside of your pivot table. I will use the summary sample file, which you can find in the Chapter 2 folder of your exercise files archive. Let's take a quick look at the data inside of the pivot table. The individual values, which are here for each of 4 regions, Northeast, West, and South, and it's the number of customers that were acquired per quarter for each of those regions for quarters 1 through 4 in the years 2012 and 2013. And you can see here in the grand total column the number of customers for 2012, and then again for each of the quarters, and the same for 2013. What I'd like to do is change how the data is summarized inside of the pivot table, and then also how it's displayed. If I want to change the summary operation, all I need to do is click any data cell, in other words, one that contains, in this case, a numeric value in the body of the pivot table. So I'll click the cell that contains the number 399. And then from the shortcut menu that appears, I'll point to Summarize Values By, and then I can select any one of several other options: sum, count, average, maximum, minimum, and also a product. In this case, I'll find the average value. So I'll click that from the list, and you can see that the pivot table summary changes. Now note that the values in the body of the pivot table didn't change. So 399 is still 399, 156 is still 156. That's not surprising because those are the base values. What changed were the summaries. So you can see here for 2012, for the East region, which is here, you can see that the average number of customers per quarter was 545. For North, it was 572, South 426, West 425. You can also look at the average for each quarter or for the entire year, and you can see those summaries here. If you want to undo a change, then all you need to do is either click the Undo button on the Quick Access toolbar, or do as I'll do right now, press Ctrl-Z. Now let's say that you want to change how the data is displayed inside of a pivot table. And I'm not talking about number formatting. That's a subject for another movie. But let's say that I wanted to find a running total, or I wanted to find a percentage running total for each individual value for a row or a column. To display data in that manner, I right-click any data cell in the body of the pivot table, point to Show Values As, and doing so displays a list of the ways that I can summarize or display the data. So for example, I currently have no calculation checked. But let's say that I want to display each quarter for each region as a percentage of the overall total, the grand total of all customers acquired. To do that, I would just click Percentage of Grand Total, and when I do, the data inside of my pivot table changes. So I can see at a yearly level that I acquired 51.27% of my new customers in 2012 and 48.73% in 2013, with the data breaking down by quarter in the body of the pivot table. And again, if I want to undo my change, I can press Ctrl-Z and go back to what I had before. I'll show you a couple of the other ways that you can summarize your values in the body of a pivot table, just so you get an idea of what's available to you. So I'll right-click a data cell, point to Show Values As, and in this case, I'll make it a percentage of a column total. So point to and click Percentage of Column Total. When I do, you can see that the data is now summarized based on values in a column. So I can see that for the East region, in 2012, I had 62.91% of my new customers acquired, whereas in 2013, that year only accounted for 37.09% of new customers for the East region. And you can see similar breakdowns for each of the other 3 regions as well. Now, one last thing, let's see how it looks when we compare by row instead of by column. So I'll right-click a data cell, Show Values As, Percentage of Row Total. When I do, you can see that my summary has changed from being column-based to being row-based. And you can tell that because the grand total in the column summarizing all of the rows is 100%. And now you can see that the East region was 27.8%, North was 32.96%, and so on, all adding up to 100% of the values in this row. You can also display running totals as opposed to individual totals. So for example, if I right-click a data cell, point to Show Values As, and then click Percentage Running Total In, I want my base field to be quarter. It could also be year or region, but in this case, I'll make it quarter. Click OK. And you can see that my running totals for 2012, quarter number 1 accounts for 22.24% for the East region. 1 and 2 together account for 47.41%. Quarters 1 through 3, 80.83%, and so on. And that's how you change the summary operation and how your data is displayed inside of a pivot table. You can make all of these changes very quickly, and if you want to go back to what you did before, click the undo button or press Ctrl-Z and you'll be there.